A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. So I thought today we'd do a video on alloy wheel cleaning. So today we're cleaning these alloy wheels from a Porsche 911 GT3 RS that have got a satin finish, very high quality finish. So the first thing is the chemical that I'm using is just a good quality citrus. It's actually Autoglanz Spritzer diluted down to between 5 to 10% PIR, or between 1 to 10 and 1 to 20 roughly. Now why use this chemical? Because I don't want anything that's too caustic or strong directly on this satin finish, especially that little anodized piece in the middle, which I know from seeing some of these cars can turn like pale white and you'll never ever get them back. So that's the first thing, a milder chemical that's still going to have a little bit of punch, and the punch comes from the organic citrus solvent, which is good at just gently kind of breaking down grime and brake dust and all that sort of things. So no fancy chemicals, no spray bottles or anything, like no thick foam, just a good amount of that citrus cleaner all over the wheels. The next thing that's really important is the brushes. So you saw me start off with the, I think it's called the Go EZ brush with a stiff arm handle. That just allows me normally to get a bit more purchase when I'm cleaning out the wheel arch and really sort of scrub a bit harder, but this car sits so low the EZ brush couldn't make it all the way around the top part of the rim. So I just used the little EZ detail brush to make sure I get behind that lip and get all of the mud out, which is something that I like to do. After this, guys, I'm going in with the big normal EZ brush, and the reason I'm using this is a lot of the other detailing brushes won't get between this gap between the brake disc and the barrel of the alloy wheel, and they'll just rub against the little heat shield on the back and get pinned and kind of make a horrible noise, and it just won't be good. So that's one of the advantages of the EZ brush, is it tends to be able to fit in virtually every wheel type out there. You can see I put the brush into the barrel and I just do a little gentle arc going in and out. With these EZ brushes, you cannot force them and use pressure. You shouldn't ever pressure them against the barrel, because if you do, you're just going to increase the risk of kind of doing heavier scratching, but you're also going to bend the little metal core, the mild steel core in there. Once you start bending it, you weaken it. I've had this brush for years and it will carry on working because I don't force it. So the only thing I really wear out on this brush is the bristles slowly, but they'll last for years. The other thing you need to be careful with these EZ brushes are the little rubber tips on the end of them falling off. They can sometimes catch on the heat shields and then they'll pop off. So just keep an eye on those. That mine are still all intact, because again, I'm gentle with them. And if I ever get a problem, I'll fill it up with silicone and stick it back on. Or Tiger Seal is a good little tip. So you can see me just taking my time and using the two brushes, and sometimes to get behind the caliper you need to use the little smaller detail brush. I'm now going to just do behind the spokes and around the gaps. If I just rinse this off now and dried it, there would be still dirt patches on these arms and in the corners where it all builds up. So going back over a bit that you've kind of already cleaned, again just with something you can use, and this is the Gyeon wheel brush that you can put on your hand, so you can really grab behind the spokes and use your fingers and hands to kind of get into the nooks and crannies. And again, that just means when you finish, you're less likely to see little patches of dirt once these alloys dry off on the faces anyway. As always, in an ideal world, if you want to properly clean an alloy wheel, it has to come off the car, but that's not really an option here, so you're just kind of doing the best you can. And of course, taking the alloy wheel off adds a lot of time, and you need special tooling to get this particular wheel off as well that I don't have. So yeah, we're just really trying to do the best we can by this alloy. Most important thing is not to damage it. With a satin finish, if you use really caustic materials and they dry, they can sometimes haze up the finish and put white stains on, which you can't get off. On a satin finish, you also can't use polishing to correct any kind of issues like that that you could on a clear coated car. So you can see me now just taking a normal detailing brush and just giving the face of the caliper a little scrub over, and that inside part of the floating brake disc as well. You sometimes get some grit and grime in there, so it's just taking this opportunity to poke out those little bolts and nuts and get it really, really clean. So after that, I think we're down to just needing the tyre done now. So that's usually the bit you do kind of last, if you like. So a little bit more chemical back on. If you want it to all look nice and thick and foamy, then you put a bit of chemical in the brush. We're using the fantastic EZ detail brush here, and you'll notice we're using just one chemical, and it's the same citrus cleaner. Again, it's gonna do a good job. It's not the most aggressive type of product out there, but it's aggressive enough, and a good citrus is always really useful. If I wasn't using a citrus, I'd be using an all-purpose cleaner like Surfex HD as well, which will also do a brilliant job. So as you can see now, guys, the final stage is probably to pressure wash and get all of the dirt off there. If there was a bit more clearance, you could get into those arches. We're also cleaning the undercarriage, so you can go behind those wheels and blast up as well. That really helps. Once you've blasted all that dirt off, you could really just give it a dry with some air as well, and you're done.